Hello 5-1 Orange Group, Mr. Waterman here with today's language arts lesson on Thursday, January 27th, 2022. I hope everyone is doing safe and well, and I hope you all have had a great day studying so far. Okay, so yesterday in Wednesday's lesson, you completed an activity, a grammar activity, on comparatives and superlatives. And the reason why I had you complete that activity is because it ties into our grammar point we're currently focusing on, but we are also reading different versions of Cinderella. So we have read the Chinese Cinderella called Yexin. We read the Korean Cinderella yesterday, and today we are going to read Cinderella. Okay, this is going to be the last version that we are going to read, and so hopefully you have enough comparatives and superlatives from the grammar activities that we have done to be able to have a discussion and compare all of the different versions of Cinderella. Okay, so I have scanned a copy of the story, so it's available for PDF in PDF format. You can print it off or read along if you just have it open on your computers or tablets or phones, whatever you're using. Okay, so I'm on page 470 of the textbook, and let's just review. Okay, this is lesson number 28, fairy tale. So we're reading Cinderella, and this is our genre. A fairy tale is a make-believe story that has been told for many years. So we, talked about fairy tales a couple of weeks ago, and we described which fairy tales we knew about. Okay? What we also want to pay attention to are the illustrations. So the illustrations in a story are drawings that show important details to help the reader understand more about the characters, the setting, which is where the story takes place, or the plot. These are all of the events that happen in a story. Okay? So what I want you to do, I want you to listen to Mr. Waterman very carefully as he reads Cinderella to you, because after I have read it to you, what I want you to do is I want you to go back and I want you to read the story out loud to yourself 2 additional times. Please feel free to read it to mom and dad if they are home working with you, helping you study, and feel free to read it to your siblings. I'm sure your brothers and sisters would love to hear this version of Cinderella. Okay? Cinderella by Sheila Sweeney Higginson, illustrated by Donald Wu. Once upon a time, there lived a girl named Cinderella. Cinderella was smart, kind, and beautiful. Her father loved her very much, and she loved him. Cinderella had a stepmother and 2 stepsisters too. They did not love Cinderella. They were jealous of her and were never kind. Oh, there they are, the stepmother and her stepsisters. Cinderella had to do all of the chores. She mopped the floors and washed all of the dirty dishes. She dusted, scrubbed, and polished every single thing in the house. One day, Cinderella's family received an invitation to a ball. The prince was having a dance and inviting all of the young women in the kingdom. Cinderella ironed her stepsisters' dresses. She brushed their hair and fixed their bows. Then she waved goodbye as they skipped off to the ball. Cinderella was not allowed to go. After everyone left the house, Cinderella sat alone by the fireplace and cried. Tears streamed down her beautiful face. Oh, how I wish that I could go to the ball, Cinderella sobbed. I wish that I had a beautiful dress to wear. Just then, a tiny woman with wings flew through the window. She had a wand in her hand. It was Cinderella's fairy godmother. Why are you crying, my dear? The fairy godmother asked Cinderella. I want to go to the ball too, cried Cinderella. Then you shall go, said the fairy godmother. This fairy godmother's quite small compared to other stories, don't you think? Or to the other versions of Cinderella. Wow. Look at this transformation. Wow. Cinderella's fairy godmother waved her wand quickly in the air. Poof! A pumpkin transformed into a golden coach. Look at that. Whoosh! Cinderella's old, worn-out clothes were changed into a beautiful pink and silver gown and 2 glass slippers. She looks quite stunning, don't you think? What are you waiting for? The fairy godmother asked Cinderella. You need to get to that ball. Just make sure that you come home by midnight. The prince saw Cinderella as soon as she entered the ballroom. He could not believe his eyes. She was the most beautiful girl he had ever seen. The prince asked Cinderella to dance. The prince soon discovered that Cinderella was smart and kind, and he fell completely in love with her. Cinderella learned that the prince was good and noble. Cinderella fell in love with him too. Isn't that sweet? I love a good love story, don't you? Uh-oh, what's happening here? Soon enough, the clock began to strike midnight in the ballroom. Cinderella gasped and turned to race out of the castle. As she ran out, one of her glass slippers fell off her foot. Cinderella did not stop to get it. The prince rushed after Cinderella, but he couldn't catch her. He picked up the glass slipper and sighed. It belonged on the foot of the girl he loved. He vowed to find Cinderella and marry her. Isn't that wonderful? Let's find out what happens. Look at this picture. We know what the prince is doing, right? The prince was true to his word. With the glass slipper in hand, he knocked on every door in the kingdom. He was looking for the girl whose foot would fit into the slipper. Every girl wished the slipper would fit, especially Cinderella's stepsisters. The stepsisters tugged and pulled on the slipper. They pushed with all their might, but they could not fit their big feet into the slipper. Cinderella watched her stepsisters as she stood next to the fireplace. At last, she stepped out so that the prince could see her. "May I try?" she asked shyly. Cinderella knows good and well what she's doing. Look at this last picture. I guess we know what happened with that glass slipper, don't we? The prince knelt down in front of Cinderella and held out the glass slipper. Cinderella placed her foot into the slipper, and it fit her perfectly. However, the prince did not need to see that. He looked into Cinderella's eyes. He knew that she was his true love. The prince took Cinderella back to his castle, and they were married the next day. Then Cinderella, who was always kind, invited her father, her stepmother, and her stepsisters to live with the prince and her in the castle. They all lived happily ever after. The end. Well, what another happy ending, don't you think? Okay. I don't know how I feel about this ending, students. What do you think? Would you have invited the evil stepmother and stepsisters to live with you? That's a tough one. I'm interested in knowing how you would have handled that situation. Okay? Now, here's what I want you to think about. We're going to look at this part here. Text to text. Think about it because we are going to be completing this part in our workbook in tomorrow's activity. So just think about it now. It says discuss stories. Think about Yashin and Cinderella. How are the stories alike and different? Compare and contrast the characters, the settings, and the events. Discuss your ideas with a partner. Tell them which story you like better and why. Well, since we're not in school, you can talk to your parents about which of the versions you like better. Yashin, and Cinderella, and tell them why. Okay? We're going to need this for tomorrow's activity. Until then, what I want you to do is I want you to go back and I want you to read through this version of Cinderella again, 2 times each, and read it out loud. And remember, as you're reading, if you didn't finish your comparatives and superlatives activity from yesterday, this is a good time to go through and finish it. And also, you can finish the simple past verbs activity as well. Because as I was reading, I know I came across a few of the simple past verbs. Okay? As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to email me at any time. Take care, stay safe, be well, get all of your homework done, and enjoy the rest of the day studying. Bye-bye for now, students.